संसार दावानंद लीलोका.
Hare Krishna. Well, thank you very much, and of course, we're here tonight to celebrate Srila Prabhupada's success. Because in your life, you meet a lot of famous people, people that are rich, have achieved material success on many different levels. But my experience is no one comes even this close to the success of our Guru Maharaj. His story is something that will live on for thousands of years. It's remarkable. When you read the Brahmananda came to my house years ago, he left me the Jaladuta diary and the beginning, those two books. So you read Prabhupada's diary. There it tells the truth. In fact, when you see for the 2 weeks he wrote nothing because he had suffered, almost died on the boat. Came to New York, September 19th, 1965. Coincidentally, is the day of my birthday. September 19th. So I always can remember that because it's easy for me. So Prabhupada's mission is, we're very fortunate, all of us, first, second generation. This Prabhu speaking was just terrific. It really helped me to appreciate Prabhupada's great work as it's unfolding for us. And the best part is we can see the timeline. If you start to read some of the favorite books that I have, Brahmananda also left me the early BTGs, 1944, 45, 46, those books. Fantastic, just beautiful. And you see Prabhupada working towards that lifetime of preparation towards coming to America to launch the mission. According to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj's instructions, which is an example for us, because Prabhupada is showing us you have to carry out the order of your spiritual master. I know Prabhupada put a big burden on me. I mentioned it this morning, and it just doesn't go away from me. It sort of rings at me, even though I know it's not me, but we all have that responsibility to represent the philosophy to the conditioned souls, because Maya has not got any less now than it was back then. In fact, it's bigger. And the conditioned souls, Prabhupada had great compassion on the conditioned souls. He could see. It's like the doctor walking into the hospital. All the patients are very sick. The genuine doctor, what is he thinking in his heart? Oh, I have to save the patients. So like that, the conditioned souls you were mentioning about, it's a very fortunate to get the human form of life. If you get the human form of life and all you do is walk around and don't use that, you stay on the mental platform, you don't use it for making advancement in spiritual life, you've squandered it. Especially in the universe, this two-hand form is very auspicious. This is a story then. So I'm kind of moving ahead, but it's appropriate. So Prabhupada's in Toronto, so we're really excited. He had come twice. He came first to Pembroke Street and to Gerrard Street. And then after we worked, he wanted to get the building. They turned us down. We were going to buy a big church. When they saw Prabhupada, they were shocked. Oh no, because they didn't want to sell it to the Hare Krishna movement. In fact, they said, oh, we'd rather burn it down than sell it to the Hare Krishna movement. So that was, I'll talk about that just briefly later. But so anyway, Prabhupada comes the second time, and we go out for a morning walk, because the morning walks were a big celebration for everybody. And everybody would try to get on the morning walks. Especially in India, you couldn't get on the morning walks. You had to be one of the big devotees. So we weren't, sometimes you could sneak on, but when Prabhupada came to Toronto, I let everybody come. As many people as we could fit in the cars outside of the cook and the other people that had to stay back at the pujaris. I tried to get everybody to come for the morning walk. So we're out underneath the Don Valley Parkway. Still remember. And we walk by, and Prabhupada has his cane, and he points up at this sign. And the sign says, "Stoop and Scoop." They just started to put that up. Stoop and Scoop. Do you know what that is? Okay, this is what it is. He's shaking. So the sign is up there, and he starts laughing. And it shows a man with a shovel, like this. And he's stooping and scooping dog stool. Stoop and scoop. Prabhupada's laughing, and he turns to all of us, he goes, "Ah, yes, this is the difference between us and them. They worship dog, D-O-G. We worship God, G-O-D. Everybody just started laughing. Now, it's interesting. Every day I get up. These days I'm getting up, and if you get up at 4:30 or 4:45, I get myself up. I'm by myself. And I look out the window, and then what do I see? The parade of people every day. I live on a street where we have a big boulevard. So what is the boulevard for? The dog walks. And that's all you see. Actually, it's a dog society. Except the dogs are leading the masters. It's not that the master is leading the dog. The dog is leading the master. He's pulling. All these fancy businessmen with all the money, and they're walking their dog. Pulling him. The dog is pulling them. And then they're stopping. And they stoop and scoop. This is the unconscious state of affairs of the modern society. It's not a small thing. Dogs are a very big part of the human society. They are man's best friend. I love dogs. We love animals. Of course we do. We see the soul in them. But this isn't the purpose of life. The purpose of life is in the morning, we're supposed to rise and chant the holy name. That is the purpose. Not everybody, you walk around, you see all the houses, the lights are out. Why is it? Because everybody's asleep. They're asleep. Jeev Jago, wake up. It's our job as devotees of Srila Prabhupada, as disciples of him, to learn the philosophy and then take it out to other people. In the early days, we had a temple in Hamilton, Ontario, which is near Toronto. What happened was, and Sankirtan, it was amazing today. I'd seen his picture on Facebook. And I thought, I know him. I just can't remember his name. And then today, when I went into the school on a tour, his wife, Ruchi, was there. She goes, "I know you." I go, "Oh, okay. What did I do wrong?" No, just kidding. So she goes, "I know you." Okay. And she says, "Oh, they have their own pastime. We came to Hamilton because they were, this was like 40, how many years ago, Sankirtan? 71, so 45 years ago. So they came to Hamilton, and where the temple started, we had 18 people within our group became Prabhupada disciples. There could be 19, but it's the largest number of Prabhupada disciples from probably most any town in North America. Like in Toronto, Drupada will tell you, he's from Toronto. There was only like 3 people in a city of millions. And in our small steel city like Pittsburgh, we had 18 Prabhupada disciples. So we started the temple there, and they moved us to Toronto because Toronto was so small. They just said, "Okay, we'll close the Hamilton temple. We'll move everybody to Toronto." So after 6 months, in July, then we got the opportunity to get initiation. Because back then, if you chanted your rounds and followed the principles, the president would do an evaluation. Okay, you're initiated. you're going to go. So we went. Now, the realization that we had was, at that time, was that Prabhupada was the transparent via media for the Supreme Lord. Because when a pure devotee is someone who has completely surrendered his being, we talked about it this morning in the class, he completely surrenders his whole being to the service of Krishna. So Krishna is the master of the senses, Rishikesh. So Krishna takes over the operation of the senses. So we get to Detroit, and we go down in the truck, a whole pile of us. We go to Detroit in 1971 on Jefferson Avenue. So Jefferson Avenue was a house. And I had a living room there. It was probably like this size, maybe even smaller. I don't know, because I was in a bit of a daze, you know. It was so exciting to see Prabhupada and to get his association. But when I first saw him at the airport, I got to the airport, I thought, Prabhupada had given us an instruction, you've got to distribute books. So we all got to the airport, and there were no books. So I raced back out myself. I ran back out to the van and had a book bag, and I filled it up with Back to Godheads. And when I got back, Prabhupada had arrived. I was afraid to look at him. I thought, I just can't do it. I'm just not qualified. I just can't look at him. And then finally I got the nerve to. I thought, this is ridiculous. I've got to look. And then I saw Prabhupada drinking with water. I had never seen anyone drink without touching your lips to water. We're Westerners. We don't know anything. So he's drinking. It was like silver flowing down into his mouth, and he was drinking the water in the airport. It was amazing. And I could see the way from his bodily reaction. For me at the time, I could see that Krishna had completely surrendered to Krishna, and Krishna was controlling him. And he was simply the ambassador of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Later, I got Bhakta Bob. I was invited because back then cleanliness, he was teaching us cleanliness. I was given the wonderful service of cleaning Prabhupada's washroom. Of all the 300 devotees, I got picked. Now, that may not seem like a very good thing, but it was a great thing for me. I got the chance to get into Prabhupada's quarters, like Mr. Nobody. So I cleaned the washroom and got it ready. Then Prabhupada was there. And then because of that, I got invited back to the room when Prabhupada finished one of his programs. I was invited, Bhakta Bob, to be there. So we're sitting there, and Prabhupada is speaking with all of us. And then they bring in prasadam. So the prasadam comes in, and we're sitting there. Prabhupada takes a little bit of prasadam. And then he motions to everybody. So everybody's like this. Nobody would get up and do anything. And then Prabhupada looked at all of us and he said, please take prasadam. You should never be shy when doing business and taking prasadam. So ever since then, of course, the devotees understand, never be shy to take prasadam. We're the kitchen religion. And through this we can, spread the Krishna consciousness movement by giving people prasadam. I mentioned earlier, and some of the prabhus weren't at the class, but when I got my name, I went up. I was very nervous. I in the temple, it was packed with devotees. Indradumna Swami got initiated that day. Rochan got initiated. All the devotees from Toronto. So it was really grand. And I didn't know that. I'd never heard the name Visvakarma because I just hadn't read enough of the books. Like Visvakarma, the chief engineer, is not mentioned in the Gita. So all we had done was read the Gita. So not only the Gita, but read the Gita. So Prabhupada gave me my name and said, when he did, everybody in the room was like, oh, wow, what a big name. And I was like this. I didn't even know what the name meant. And he goes, oh, yes, but you should never think that you're the chief engineer, but the servant of the servant of the servant of the chief engineer. In this way, you'll be great. And that still rings in my ears. That's the secret of success. Even when you read the books, if you constantly read the books, you're seeing in the books the same message. It's Srila Prabhu. He always says to me, oh, when I was in Vrindavan, he's going to speak in a few minutes. I never got a chance to go on any of the morning walks because I had to do the pujari work. I had to go serve the cows. He worked in all kinds of services. Sometimes devotees didn't get a chance to personally associate with Prabhupada on the walk. Did they lose? Look at him today. He's a saint. I told him yesterday, I said, that's your credit. Not because you had to be always beside Prabhupada and be in the front of the whole game. No, you can be in the back line, and that's more important. Even when the teams win in the hockey, even the equipment manager gets the ring, the Stanley Cup ring. He gets to take the Stanley Cup around in his town for one day because he's important. Everybody is important. And the people, I always love the devotees that are in the background, not up front. The ones that make the engine move. So if you're thinking that you're losing because you don't get this or that because you've always got to do this and that, you're not, you're winning. Because devotional service is our goal. That's the beginning and the end of this process, not any other kind of process. We got the building in Toronto, and what had happened was Prabhupada came he came to Gerrard Street. Somebody will remember. Prabhupada was there. We got beautiful pictures of him there in a small room, smaller than this. And Krishna had his plan for ISKCON Toronto because the Indian community in Toronto is the biggest Indian community outside of India now. It's massive. So, it was there was a reason when we got the temple downtown by the Parliament buildings. I did that because I picked that location out of all the locations we were scouting because it was right up from the government. I thought, why shouldn't we have the Supreme Personality of Godhead really in charge of this province? Not these fool politicians you can never trust. They're idiots. So we got that. And we moved into a different financial state. Because back then, everything was about book distribution, if you remember, Marge. It was all about book distribution. You had to sell books in order to get recognition. And, we weren't, in Toronto, we didn't have the same legalities, legal opportunity to distribute books as it was in America. The movement back then had all kinds of legal cases, but they had a whole team of people, and they had the airports open, and O'Hare Airport was open for book distribution. I just talked to Prabhu just before I came to New Vrindavan. He called me when I got in the car with Drupada. I'd been trying to talk to him for a couple of weeks. He's like one of the superstar book distributors of all time in the Sankirtan movement of the modern times. He has so many. I tried to get him to come, by the way. Oh yeah, he's got really good stories for all of us, and I will talk him into it so that he'll come to New Vrindavan and tell you of his pastimes about Prabhupada. But so the book distribution count had, after we got it, then we had overhead. Oh my God, overhead. So guess what? Instead of buying books, you have to pay the electrical bill. Instead of buying books, you have to pay the mortgage. We had a mortgage. We didn't have a mortgage. We were renting. And back then, we had paid $425,000 for the building. Prior to that, we were on Gerrard Street, and we were in a meeting with Prabhupada in that apartment, and I still remember him on the phone talking to Rameshwar in L.A. And he loved the building. We went up to see the building. There's pictures of us walking around. We all had our dhotis on and kurtas, and we marched around the building and flipped the Christians right out. Yeah, they just flipped right out. So, but Prabhupada didn't know it at the time. So when he came back, he said, he called Rameshwar. He said, we didn't have any money. Udama, whoever was, I think was Udama was the president at the time. I was the vice president of the temple. So he says, Udama said, we don't have any money, Prabhupada. So Prabhupada called up the BBT, and he told Rameshwar there was $300,000 in the BBT. He said, here, give the $300,000 to the Toronto temple so they can buy the Avenue Road Church. And then we prepared the offer. I think Jagadish took it at the time, prepared the offer. There were 2 buildings that were being bought. The temple in Detroit, which he was very, very interested in getting. So remember, Prabhupada's running this organization himself personally. It wasn't us doing it. He's saying, I want this, I want that. And so we went and we made the offer to them, and we waited for the response, and the response came back, like I said. They told us we'd rather burn it down than sell it to the Hare Krishnas. Oh yeah, well, we fixed them up later. Yeah, I wore a wig and tricked them, and they never knew. No, first of all, we went out and got the money. Because after that, then we lost the money. You see, Prabhupada, the money went somewhere else. But we still wanted to get the building for Prabhupada, and we organized our team. It certainly wasn't me, but it was a lot of great devotees back then who really cared about the movement and the mission, and they were enthusiastic, very enthusiastic to go out and get the money. We went to the C&E. I remember they got us on TV. They said, how'd you get the money? I said, we sold lollipops at the C&E. They went, what? We did. We had these, because you go up with a lollipop. We had books, but we go, here, would you like this candy? Just like taking, from, give them a candy and they give the donation. And we raised $150,000 that summer when I took over as a president. That summer, we raised the money. And we had the money in the bank. And then a lawyer called me, Hart Pomerantz. We were looking, and he said, guess what? I go, what? He says, the building that you wanted to buy, they were going to tear it down and put up a condominium. And the city refused to do it because the Toronto Temple, it comes down from Upper Canada College, which is one of the richest, from Forest Hill, it's one of the richest sections of Canada. And there's 2 churches on Avenue Road. They're called the Gateways to Toronto. Yeah, they're on each side. The other one burned down. I called the police. I called the fire department. I smelt it from my office when someone put it on fire. So there's the Gateways to Toronto. So we wanted to get that building, but we had to raise the money, so we did. I've got to tell you a story about B.B. Govinda Swami. Do you know him? He does the chanting. His name is a Yojapati. We came in 1973 to New Vrindavan in a blue bus. And we were good friends. We still are. And I saw him over in Lithuania a few years ago for a Vaishnava festival. They had 500 Vaishnavas there. Everybody got up in the morning for morning program. 3:30. It was like a retreat. Everybody got up. Everybody chanted their rounds together. It was beautiful. And very exciting to go there and get a taste. I also had a chance to speak to Ananda Shanti. Just so none of you know that I had a Russian devotee staying at my ashram, Abhimanyu, and he introduced me by Skype to Ananda Shanti. I was thrilled to speak to him. And we can discuss that later. But Yojapati did this to me. Like he was different back then. I don't know if he's changed much. What do you think? No, okay. But he says, I'm up in the 3rd floor of Gerrard Street, and he was cleaning Prabhupada's quarters. Okay, so I'm up on the 3rd floor, and he runs up. Hey, Vishva! I'm sitting at the desk there. He goes, I got some Mahaprasadam for you from Prabhupada. Yeah, okay. You got to trust your God brothers, right? So he grabs, I don't want to offend any of our ladies here, mothers. So he grabs and he pulls my face back like that. He goes, here, drink this. And then he has as it was, I didn't see it because he didn't show it to me. It was Prabhupada's loda, his spitting loda that he had used over on Pembroke Street. And he poured Prabhupada's loda down my throat. I was like, oh, choking on it. So, in a certain way, it was a transcendental mercy, and I it's hard to describe it to here at this talk, but it's like when we stole all of Prabhupada's prasadam in Mayapur, because the GBC always used to take the prasadam. So me and Uttama Shloka, we staged a robbery on the 2nd floor. Bhavananda, everybody was guarding, and Uttama went up, and I was watching, and then we managed to get all of the prasadam, ran out in the field. A couple other devotees followed us, and we ate all of Prabhupada's prasadam off his plate. So, getting back, it started to become affected, Mars and Prabhu, as the president. We're watching, you have to watch the accounting. Drupa will talk about this, how Prabhupada watched in Vrindavan the money so carefully. Very carefully. So he says to me, I says, it's really, our book distribution has dropped. He says to me, that's okay. I said, it's a real austerity with this new program. He goes, you have to take austerity for Krishna. So that's also an instruction to all of us, that spiritual life is about sacrifice. It's about austerity, difficulty, taking on difficulty. That's a sign of advancement, that Krishna's giving you a chance to take responsibility. We go out on a walk. Again, this is another walk at the beaches. Again, we've got a big group. You might have seen a lot of the pictures, because I got Hasti Gopal. I gave him a budget to take pictures. I thought, it'd be good to get pictures of Prabhupada here. So we got hundreds of pictures in the archives in Toronto of Prabhupada's visit. So we were walking along. I think I actually had the nerve to ask Prabhupada a question, because at the time I was a brahmachari. And so I says to Prabhupada, we had the building, so I was in a position I could almost speak. So I said, Prabhupada, he stopped, and all the crowd stopped. I says to him, everybody is asking us, because brahmacharya life back then was very popular. There was a lot of brahmacharis. It was more of a brahmacharya environment, in a sense, not grihasta. So, and I was proud of being a brahmachari. I don't know, I think one of the women asked me to marry her. That was the thing. And that got my mind going, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, God, I don't know if I want to do this, because I did enjoy brahmacharya life. It was great. I had the blue bus. We were traveling. I met Vishnu John down south in Houston. He got on the bus. We were traveling. We came to New Vrindavan with the bus. We were all like brahmacharis. Everybody knew. They knew me like that. Very pumped. Bile, mucus, air, stool, urine, women, useless. So anyway, I says to Prabhupada, I wanted to know if you're single and you get married, Is that a fall down? The Prabhupada looked at me. He goes, where's the question of fall down when you're already fallen? That was it. I got married. Very profound. Prabhupada, I mentioned earlier too about association with his godbrothers. And I think I should mention that again. We were in India in 74, and we met, or I think it was 74, we went to Sridhar Swami's ashram with permission from Srila Prabhupada. Did any of you go from here to Sridhar? We went on the boats because we didn't know anything about the Gaudiya Math. Zero. We were strictly single-minded, one thing. So we got, Bhavananda, I believe, talked Prabhupada into letting us go to the Gaudiya Math. And there we met Krishna Das Babaji. He chanted. There was, Uttama Shlokam did a kirtan tape of that. Krishna, it was fantastic. It was actually a revelation. The way he played the drum and chanted, he was a great saint of the Gaudiya Math. Fantastic. So I think the next year when he came, we were sleeping on that. There was a stone wall with a metal roof. That's all they had. There was no. The first building was still being constructed. There was that one residence, and we were there. And we invited him. We saw him on the property, and we invited him in. We did a kirtan with him. Well, he did it with us. He chanted with us, and it was really fantastic. So the following year, we bought the temple. I was there. And so it must have been 75. So in 76, when I came, then Prabhupada saw me when he came back from a morning walk. I was standing down at the bottom by the staircase, and he invited me to come up to his room that evening. Oh. Because he wanted to hear how we tricked the Christians. That was a thing for him, because he got the building. And he sent me a letter from Nairobi. He said that he was so happy that we had got the building. He called it, he said to me, it's a topmost triumph that you've got this building for Krishna. Now use it for preaching. I want you to erect a sign chanting Hare Krishna on the building so everyone in the city can see the holy names. We did put up a sign. We went through a court case. We won. They tried to take it down. I went up on the top. I told them, you come up here, I'm going to throw your ladder down with you on it. They left. Then I met my friend on a morning walk. He was one of the top lawyers in Toronto. He was in the music group I was in before I joined the movement. And we went and defeated the city of Toronto, and the signs are still there after 45 years.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta